Okay, the meeting is now streaming and you're ready to go. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Hello. Nice seeing you all in the new year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, it's been real quiet settling into this new year, nothing happening. I will say, Donna, it's Donna's first meeting in an official capacity. That approval only took 10 months, but we're finally here. So you are officially one of us. A little bit later, we're going to talk about future stuff. I think it is important to start thinking about. We should have started thinking about who would take over for Holly 3 months ago. Let's try to atone for that fact. So I'm planting a seed that we're going to visit in about an hour. Good news to kick off the meeting. The UGA Task Force on Race, Ethnicity, and Community has accepted the ACAC proposal. And if you read the comment, it's not just a one and done. At least that's not the plan. The plan is actually to have a future with a culture of public art that tells authentically Georgia's story. The university and also reflective of the community in which the university operates. So the language in the accepted recommendations is encouraging. I will say I'm not ready to personally celebrate until we see what the end product looks like and what the process is going to be to get there. But for arts advocacy and for playing our role, that is certainly a win. More news is that this semester I am going to be working. Every spring I teach a course, and teaching is maybe too strong of a word. I supervise a projects course with MBAs, and one of the projects that the students are going to be working on is a 1% for public art marketing campaign countywide. That will be for different audiences. So segmenting the campaign to align with different audiences. But I see CCSD as a target with its own autonomy budget-wise. There's the rest of ACC Gov. There is UGA, of course, and then there's developers and other corporations too. This project will go a lot better if we can have multiple of us involved as stakeholders. We had touched base, and all that really means is being present for a meeting, once a month or as often as you'd like. So let's say anywhere from 1 to 4 meetings over the course of the next 4 months, as well as being eyes and ears for the end product. So being willing to the project team of the course of the semester and kind of be a liaison between the students on the project and the community. So we talked about that in November. Madeline, can you look at those minutes and see who had agreed to participate in November?
Nisha, Jan, Madeline, you, and myself.
Anybody else want to join up on this?
I'd be happy to if I could anyway.
I'm happy to help too.
Okay, great. I heard Holly. Did I hear Darcy? I'm trying to only going by voice, so I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. I heard Marilyn.
No, you heard me. That's right.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks. That'll be a good crew. I will let you know. The project doesn't start in earnest until January 22nd, so we've got some time. I'm of the mind that we could do almost anything art-wise. So here's hoping that we could get some other entities in town to see the wisdom of the financial mechanism that is percent for art.
Do you have any kind of guidance? Because we outside of what we do with SPLOST, there are probably some rules and stuff that we don't know about, but that exist. Like, let's say a business wanting to do a mural or something. They'll probably expect us to know, but we might not all know.
I'm not sure what you mean, actually, Holly.
You mean
If we're serving as advisors, that's our role, no? We're kind of advisors to these projects. Is that right?
Does anybody else want to follow? I've lost the thread entirely.
we're talking about is advisors to his team of students, correct? In trying
Yes.
to
Right.
There's no projects that exist. It's just a marketing campaign, basically, that would be effective in making a case for this strategic kind of funding for the arts, so that we can do, as a community, more projects in the future. So it's creating a package of what do you want to call it? Deliverables that
Exactly.
people that can basically just make convince people to support the arts. So there's no projects to oversee. It's just helping the students understand what that looks like and what that means and what you would need on the other side of that, so that they can kind of present it.
I would recommend a trip to the planning and department and the zoning specialists with the city, or maybe for one of their projects, because there are zoning issues, signage issues, any of that stuff if they're pulling 1% from their original budget.
Okay, good to know.
Wait, can you clarify something about the planning? You're saying they do that already, or Dee, what are you saying?
I'm saying that maybe they could investigate the planning department, because they're the ones that see all new businesses, all renovated businesses. This is in the private sector, and get their input as to how a business can be encouraged to use that and what actually that 1% is. It doesn't have to be a thing. It could be a program. It could be a lot of things, in my understanding.
And also, figuring out what you can and can't do, because, in the private sector, there are certain rules, kind of going where Dee Dee and Marilyn were saying in regards to sign ordinances and, historic districts, what you can do in a historic district, who you have to get approval from, what the process is for different situations, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that'd be super helpful if we have that. I don't know if it would be realistic to have that in the guide, but I've thought about this in the past, in my role as my day job at Creature Comforts, but then also when people have just asked me this kind of thing, are there any rules about getting a mural? And I can kind of hobble together some information, and you're saying, it's a lot to do with the sign code and all that. There are other cities, I think Atlanta, definitely Philadelphia, that would have a guidebook. I'd love to see something like that be developed if it doesn't exist already. But I think what we're talking about here is they're making a marketing campaign to say this is a good way that other cities, because that's the case, that other cities have funded art. They're not saying, the goal is not to say, hey, you can do XYZ projects with this. It's more you pull, if you dedicate 1% of whatever your budget is, I think it's typically capital expense budget,
Right.
Andrew. Yeah, you can look at it different ways. If you do that, then here's all the good that we can do, and this is why you should do it. So not really getting into the gritty of here's a project and here's all the rules about doing a project. It's more just getting people at the table and being yes, okay, I could commit that much money to supporting the arts in my community. So the nitty gritty of rules about you can't put this in a mural or something, that would not be as relevant to the marketing campaign up front. More on the other end, when you have the money, okay, now what are the rules about what you can do with that? Does that make sense?
Can I also add that we've looked into, years ago, we looked into how to begin working, how an arts association, community arts association can begin working with businesses. And Americans for the Arts has a whole large, program on how to begin working with businesses if we ever need that.
That's good.
Well, Marilyn, Envision Athens is working on some of those ideas. There's also tax incentives for businesses to do this, which I think can be part of the conversation as well.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add that I think advocacy is a really good beginning place for this commission to start, is thinking about the why. What does it look like for the Athens community to invest all these different parts of the community, both public and private? What does that look like to invest 1% into the arts, into public art, so that all benefit? Talking about the why and the inspiration, focus on that. And then as that's kind of like the marketing piece, and then the technical how-to can be developed from there.
Sounds good. Other news that I was hoping to start the meeting with and fly right through is our coordinator position, public art coordinator position. Stephanie, can you fill us in on where that stands?
It's on the precipice of being posted. I'm stalled out with something at HR right now, and I apologize for that. I had hoped to have it not only posted but filled at this point, but that's just where we are, and I will keep you guys aware of when we do open up the interview process. We'll have representation from the commission on that interview committee, and so I will work with Andrew and Holly and everyone to figure out who's available and who's the best person. So I'm working on it. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. Of course, it's really no bother. We're just wondering what the update is, and sometime probably this month. Is that what we're hoping?
That's what I'm hoping. Yes.
Okay. Sounds. Treasurer. And sorry, we didn't coordinate any of this in advance. It is time to resubmit our budget for next year. And related to that is what we want to keep it the same from this year to next year, and that's my vote. But I'm wondering if anybody has any thoughts that they're willing to execute on by Wednesday when the budget extension has been granted. They're hoping for this information last week. Been preoccupied with other things, missed that deadline. So if anybody has strong thoughts about our budget, speak now and be prepared to do the work.
The only two things that come to mind, because they relate to projects, are just making sure we've got the Poet Laureate program squared away in there. And then also it was suggested maybe that the Music Walk of Fame continue to be budgeted, but I'm not sure that's probably the Project 21. So maybe just the Poet Laureate piece.
Right.
We might also, and I may be behind on this, it seems to me that one thing we haven't done a whole lot about lately is our inventory, public art inventory. Am I wrong about that, or has it been a little while? And I'm wondering, yeah, I think we need a new program for that. Because the other program is old, and I'm not sure it's even being used anymore. Do you think so, Holly? You might know.
Talking about the
one that we started.
The database we have?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's updated up to maybe a year or two ago, which we haven't added a whole lot since then.
So if the old program was still even good or usable or whatever, or if we needed to have some money for a new program or anything like that. But if you think
that
it's in Excel.
I was gonna say, we might incorporate that into the new position. So that might be something to absorb. And like, it's a good time, we'll want to revisit the inventory and how we're cataloging everything. So thank you for bringing that up, Marilyn. I'm working on the laptop and the software and all that kind of stuff for this position, and moving that along with IT.
Yeah. Old House committee did their inventory on a really great software. I'll share that, and it was I think even free, and it's publicly accessible and used for educational purposes. It might be a good platform and really easy to work with. I'll send it on to Stephanie.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
Hey, Steph, didn't you mention at one point that you thought, I don't know if this is provisional or plan kind of talk, but didn't you mention at one point the public art inventory maybe moved into the, is it called CityWorks, the software, or the?
It's like a hub, yeah. It's a GIS-based software. That's the plan. I don't know where it lies though in the timeline, but that's one of the reasons why, like, before we go and invest and spend ACAC funds, we might look at like what I have within Arts Division that will easily integrate into the City Hub. So yeah, I'd like to be a part of that conversation. So we want to make sure that we pick something that will last, and we can also hopefully embed so that it can be integrated in the larger Athens-Clarke County GIS-based information system that will show people where parks are, where art is, where buildings are, facilities. They'll have all of that. It's like as a locator.
I was going to say, Andrew, one other thing we might do is, now that I want to tell you all, I finished cataloging all those folders that we hauled over to the Linden House. The only thing I still haven't done is stuck the little thing on the front of each drawer to say what's in it, but that's ready, and it might get there tomorrow.
Bravo.
But what it makes me think is that we've got all copies of all the old budgets, and we might want to look back just a handful of years and see what were some of the things we had in there that we may have taken out and we might now need again. So, you know, sometimes looking back to see, oh gosh, we left that out last year, we should have had that, or we left that out for 2 years, might be worth reviewing.
Are we going to continue to have our standalone website, or is that going to?
I was going to say website.
It would be really good to hire a professional web person to redo that. I really do.
Yep.
Because it's really bad.
Clunky.
Really bad.
Yep.
And whatever the platform is, the hosting group is not a good host organization. We need to find a
Absolutely not.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was great to start out with, but absolutely, after 10 years, it's time to upgrade.
And I would budget in the thousands for that.
If we're budgeted the same next year as we are this year, we will have more discretionary spending than we've ever had. And our plan was just to award more arts and community awards. The thing I can't get finance to answer is, what was their plan for what our budget was gonna be? But you know, I kind of thought the current year was a what they say in the game of Monopoly, a bank error in your favor. So we do need to think about all of our needs, like the website, the big picture needs. And the other question, I guess, that we didn't answer that somebody asked was, are we going to incorporate our website into ACC Gov, or just have our own autonomous website? Okay, I'm going to do whatever Helen wants to do there. You're the website guru. Great. Keep it as is. We've got a great domain.
I think you'll have both, which isn't bad, and I think there's a lot to be said for having your own autonomous website. So.
Sounds good. Ooh, and another thing, I had an ad hoc request. I'm going to meet somebody about in the next few weeks. A member of the Athens anti-discrimination movement reached out and is wanting to collaborate with us on a proposal for a creative use of the new pedestrian part of downtown, the one block of College Avenue between Clayton and Broad. So if anybody would like to join me as part of that conversation with the Athens anti-discrimination movement, please let me know.
Yeah. Say again. What are they proposing?
Yeah, just some creative and community artistic use of that space, of that pedestrian corridor, that one block that is now pedestrian only of College Avenue between Clayton and Broad Street, rather.
You know, there again, I think it would be really wise to reach out to planning or public works or somebody, whoever's kind of overseeing that evolution of that space before, or at least get the background on that before, you know, making any commitments or promises to other outside groups.
I think it's more like for programming, like having dance or performance or something, not anything like necessarily a permanent installation.
Let me find the request. Hold on 1 minute.
I still think it would be good to coordinate what the city is planning on. I mean, not that there shouldn't be a conversation with the group,
Right.
but just make sure that everybody's, you know, on the same page.
Also, Linda, of course, and Athens Downtown Development.
Right.
Andrew, what's the timeline on that?
So my understanding is that it'll be closed till March, and then the mayor and commission will make a decision as to whether to keep it closed permanently or maybe open it back up and then close it at a later time.
Is there going to be like a public input opportunity for people to weigh in on that, Linda, or are they just going to vote on it and decide?
I think, honestly, Stephanie, I haven't heard there's going to be public input right now. I think with, you know, the situation with social distancing and the problem getting people together, they would wait for public input. Of course, if at some point something is done permanently, I feel like there'll be lots and lots of opportunity for public input.
From your
the opportunity, the request was to help reimagine the College Avenue pedestrian plaza, and the woman writes that there's a large desire to see the Black community of Athens honored in response to the removal of the Confederate monument. Since then, we've been sifting through feedback and exploring ways to translate feedback into design solutions within the pedestrian plaza on College Avenue. And so was just hoping to have that conversation. I really like the idea of us partnering with an organization like AADM in helping the local government to reimagine the possibilities of the space. I think while we're all trying to sort out what's next, I do think that the timing is right for creative partnerships like this one.
That request does sound a little bit more like where they mentioned like design
Of this right now. But who would be interested in having this conversation with them in the New York term?
Patrice.
Patrice, Darcy, Helen. Anybody else? If you could say your name, if you're interested, it would help because I can only see half the screen right now because I'm taking notes.
Yep, definitely me, Helen.
And sorry, I think my computer froze for a second. I was trying to say, it does sound like from that email, like where they say design and, can you hear me? Am I frozen?
We can hear you.
No, you're not frozen.
Okay, sorry.
You are a little
Oh my gosh.
quieter though.
Sorry, the internet in my neighborhood is always bad. But that's okay. I was just going to say, it sounds a little bit more like they're interested in, my first impression was what Tatiana said, like of events, performances. The email sounds a little bit more like potentially thinking about like a permanent installation. So that would probably be like a whole kind of different thing, but interested in that conversation. And I agree with Helen about talking with the city planning, just seeing kind of what plans are before we really do anything.
Okay. That's it for me. Projects report, Holly. Holly, you ready?
Sorry, unmuting.
Hi.
We were able to meet with Splost on Friday, some folks, and review the current list of Splost and T-Splost projects. Basically, I sent out an updated report to all of you with Andrew's agenda. I'm just pulling that up now. But basically, let's see, we've got a lot of things in the works. Still working out some contract items with Whitehall. So hopefully that is going to proceed soon. Fire Station 2 fabrication of the artwork is underway, and we have an updated installation date for, they were hoping for December, but we're looking at March now. There's been some delays on the fabrication side, but March install hopefully for Fire Station 2. Next door, Cooperative Extension Service Center, the installation and fabrication is kind of happening on site. So that is underway, and Tatiana's been putting some pics on our Facebook and Instagram if you're interested in those. And then we have Dudley Park. The contract for that project is underway, so hopefully that will be proceeding soon. Then we have Clayton Street. You know, the artist came from North Carolina to visit in December, met with ADDA and some of the adjoining businesses there, and we're going to have now a larger public input conversation, I believe, for January 19th. So it'll be virtual.
Just to interrupt, Holly, I heard from Eric, and he would prefer the 20th.
Okay, January 20th.
So we might have to change that. I'm just confirming with everyone that we can do the 20th instead. I haven't promoted that yet. So
okay.
So yeah, but that should be fine. So he's doing that, and then we'll just promote it on our end with a WebEx, and I'm working with PIO to get that all set up and everything.
Great. So that'll give us broader public input about the Clayton Street concept. Then we have the Greenway project, the first phase, that we received good news. We received 33 artists have responded. A couple of them gave more than one concept to us. So we've got, I believe, 35.
35, yeah.
Greenway art concepts for the phase 1 call. So that we're very excited about that. And the next step will be having the selection panel. And I think we were looking at January 25th for that. So Tatiana will be helping us to organize that meeting. And I believe it's going to be virtual again. Yeah. So that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. And then I think, Helen, the call for art for phase 2, which will be several smaller projects, is underway. And I know the Splost office asked about, maybe do we need to reconvene the user group or whatever. So I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, I was waiting for the holidays to settle down and we can reconvene that group. But
Sure.
I did meet with Leisure Services and SPLOST and looked at our options for sites in the area that relate to that SPLOST program. There are very few locations that are on city-owned land. So most of the land is owned either, it's either a right-of-way agreement with a university or a private landowner. And so they're just really small areas where we can, that we can look at for an actual installation. So anyway, we came up with a couple of possibilities for that. And I wanted to make sure that we had those in place before we got a group together to talk about all that. So, and I will try to get motivated to gear that up again.
Thank you so much. I guess just keep us posted, mostly let SPLOST know if you want them to be involved at all in getting that the phase 2 group together for any future meetings. Otherwise, they know that.
Sorry. We need 2 people to be selectors from ACAC.
Yeah, for the upcoming January 25th panel. Is that a Tuesday? I can't remember.
It's a Monday, I think.
Okay, Monday. I don't have a time yet, but it'll probably be the evening.
It's almost always
It'd be
at
like
6.
6 to 8. 6 to 8.
So, right, we usually have 2 members of the ACAC to
Patrice,
sit and vote on the panel.
Who's never selected? Oh, Helen?
What?
You've never selected?
Oh, no, I have selected, but I'd like to be on the committee. We don't have any limits to how many people are on, right?
SPLOST wants to keep it small for some reason, and I actually don't necessarily think that's the way. I'm a firm believer, and so is behavior science, that large, diverse groups make
Oh,
better
no, because
decisions.
I think a lot of members of the Greenway are going to want to be involved.
They were thinking 10 was too many. So I really want to push back. I don't understand really where that's coming from, to be totally honest.
Yeah, the more is better because we get a better.
I think it's just the concern that because there's so many that the discussion's gonna be long and drawn out.
Get down.
Or
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I know, or the voting, I mean,
the voting.
He's saying that ACAC should have 2 votes in the mix. Not anybody can be part of the conversation. Because it needs to be a community decision, not, right, shared.
And I thought arbitrarily capping who can participate just means that certain numbers of stakeholder groups would have either no or a very diluted voice.
Mm-hmm. I think that was just their suggestion, but it's our event and our proceeding to organize as we see fit. So if everyone feels that they can, have an event, calculate votes, hear everyone's input, in a realistic 6 to 8 time frame for 35 proposals, or we divide it up into 2 meetings, but it's just harder to get people the same exact selection board back.
Hot Corner, we had 25 proposals. We've done this before.
Yeah.
And there were 30 people in the room voting.
Right. That's whatever.
And didn't we have ranking?
And I don't think SPLOST was a part of the Hot Corner mural, and so they don't know what it's like.
I think with the Hot Corner mural, we had like a pre-ranking, and then the numbers sort of rose to the top of selection, right? It wasn't
our mural. How we made that more efficient is that there were like 15 of the 45 that just weren't on theme. We showed them all at once and said, look, if anybody wants to take a closer look at these, you can. Right. But there was pretty firm agreement that none of them really warranted further discussion.
And that's the situation with these as well. There's a handful that aren't appropriate for the site, people that submitted paintings and things, and this is a big hill outside. There's no place to hang paintings or do a mural or anything like that. So anything other than something sculptural or landscape based is not going to work for the site. So those can easily be eliminated for just not fulfilling the basic criteria for the site. But we could always do like what we did with Hot Corner and just kind of show them just for the sake of transparency, like this is what we got, but here's why this will not work for the space. You can't just have a canvas sitting on the ground or something. So so that right there eliminates a few of them.
And Andrew had suggested someone from UGA be on the Greenway panel. And so I asked the Arts Council to submit names, and 3 people asked that they want to be on it. I sent those names to Holly, Tatiana, Andrew, and Stephanie. I don't know if you want to make a decision and only select one, or if all 3 could be on, but they were very excited to participate in the panel.
And that was moving forward. I would like to adopt having a UGA Arts Council member be part of the selection. I think part of our overture for UGA is to make them aware of our processes so that they can learn from and adopt what makes sense. So I would like to keep that moving forward. 3 might crowd it out since there are already some UGA affiliated people coming to emerge in other ways. But we could keep, the other 2 that aren't part of this in mind for future selection.
Yeah, so I would suggest that Annalise, who works at the Georgia Museum of Art and lives in town, that she be the one of, if you're only going to choose one of them, that she's the more senior and prominent.
So yeah, this was a dialogue that after that meeting we had on Friday where we did talk about this list of who would be on the committee. And it kind of opened up a dialogue with some of my peers in leisure services about having sort of a formula to sort of say, well, we need 2 from this and 2 from that, and sort of way to start a list. And then if you could get those kind of slots filled, like who are the stakeholders and what are the departments, then you kind of look at the list and say, okay, well, who else should we invite and what is the maximum number? And so I sort of started that a little bit. I did put 2 people from the Greenway as place for them, particularly. I think there's a new chair. Is that right? And then there's another person on there who I think, I can't remember the person's name right now. So and 2 people from leisure services, actually 3 people from leisure services, Todd from the planning, he's so integral in this. And then the nature administrator for nature, Alex Bond, then Rose West, who is the facilities supervisor for all of the trails and open spaces. So she's in charge of like the Greenway itself. And so has a lot, like all of her staff and all of that experience and knowledge she would bring to the selection committee. So those were some representations that I added to the list that we worked up with SPLOST on Friday. So I do think this is a good conversation that we're having about. We also talked about the commissioners, whose district is it in? What district is it near? Do they need to be on the committee, or we can offer it to them or offer them an opportunity to invite people from their district who they think, because they know their districts better. So we can sort of start to build that list out from there. But yeah, we might need to have a secondary conversation about this if we can't settle it tonight, because we need to get this.
We also had a user group that participated in this up front, and we had wastewater involved, and there's also a group, the Friends of the Greenway, involved. So there are those folks.
Okay.
So we have our new initiative where, we have a sign up on our ACC website for community members that are interested in serving on a selection panel. So far, we've only got Heidi Davidson, but
Great.
as good as anyone.
That'd be great.
But, we also, it's new and we haven't really pushed it that hard. But I think that's something that, just having that door open, just makes it a little more accessible and a little more transparent that we're not trying to leave anyone out of the conversation.
I wish there was a way we could reach into the neighborhood, the residences in the surrounding area there.
How do y'all do that for your user group? Like, where did you get those people from?
Now, the user group came from SPLOST during the SPLOST process.
Okay.
And when I started this conversation around the Greenway Art Project, I added people to that group, just because.
And the commissioners can add neighborhood people too, hopefully. Invite.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the discussion with SPLOST is that, these commissioners they're going to vote to approve the concept. So are they voting twice if they're part of the art selection? I really like the tradition of including commissioners. I think it helps us get buy-in. I like if they can each bring in. For this project, it probably makes sense to bring in a commissioner from District 2 and the other one that Greenway is largely in, but I don't know which one that is.
District 9, that butts
Nine.
against. It's
9, yep.
technically in 9, but it's right up against 2.
So if each of those commissioners invited one each, or maybe even 2 of their own constituents, then again, I think more is merrier, and that ensures more representation.
From in the olden days, the user group always contained somebody in the neighborhood that looked at the thing every day.
Right.
And like Hot Corner, this is, it was important, that the people who lived and worked there and they were going to see it every day. So, don't forget to just reach next door, because that's the person who is going to need to be on your side in the beginnings and all the way through. The other thing that we used to talk about is having an artist in this mix. Because you need someone who can speak towards the viability, the conceptual nature, the relevance, any of the other things that, are within the profession of arts.
So I live in the neighborhood. So there's definitely a handful of artists and folks that I can pull from if we want to pull from, my pool of neighbors. I'm sure they'd be interested in participating if we wanted to branch that group out a little more.
Now that we're on doing this virtually, when we selected the Dudley Park piece of artwork, I couldn't believe that everybody was saying yes. They were very excited they could come because they could be at home. And I think in the process, there weren't that many proposals, but the process was quick. It was interesting. And if nothing else, a great learning situation for people in the community, for people who didn't realize the connection they'd have to the art being installed. Some of it may be you don't get to vote, but you get to be in on it and watch or something. The more people I think would involve, the better, and different people.
And then we just have the confidentiality side of that, So we'll just have to make sure that everyone's on board if they're not a voting participant.
Yeah.
How many people were in the Dudley Park?
Gosh, wasn't it like 14, 15?
Yeah, 15-ish.
Yeah.
It's a good group. It's a healthy discussion. There's no reason why that wouldn't be the replicable model. That wasn't too many.
Right.
Whitehall was only what, 2?
Whitehall was Art Submit. It was
Dudley Park was 4.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we were talking about selectors. Sorry.
No,
I did too.
As far as the amount. Oh,
I meant the selection.
oh.
Whitehall, we had 6 or 8. 6 probably. It's really small. It was announced a day in advance.
So from ACAC, I did see Donna raise your hand, maybe, about potentially wanting to be on the selection.
As somebody who's never selected, and Patrice I know has not either.
Yeah, I have not selected. I'm not a resident of that area, but I have not selected any.
Okay.
I haven't. I'm just trying to be careful about what else I sign on to do. It's a very busy
This is
semester.
done in one evening. So you're
Oh,
called
it's one
Patrice.
evening. Okay.
Okay.
Then that will be something that I will be interested in. And this is when? One more time?
Monday, January 25th, I believe, is when we've decided to schedule it from
Yep.
6 to 8. Is that right, Tatiana?
Yes.
Okay, that should be fine.
You could
Let me know.
totally eat snacks while you do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna write down Patrice and John, and then if you don't want to do it, then let Andrew know.
Yes.
So
Okay,
then,
Holly, as you were.
so then, Andrew, will you be presenting the project, or who's going to be involved on the presentation side
I'll facilitate
of the event?
Unless somebody really
You'll
wants to. Does anybody really want to facilitate?
Which is basically just showing the presentation, showing all of the things, explaining the process, you know, handing out the confidentiality stuff, handling that, and then reading the artist's description of their concept, and then sort of standing by to answer any questions that people might have about materials or things like other information that the artist has submitted in their application. I'm just giving people an overview of the job.
And I'll be there as well. I'll be able to answer questions and.
Or if somebody wants to sit on this kind of work with Andrew if he's presenting, and you think you might be interested in the future, kind of follow him in the steps he does prior to, and then, because it's a big difference if it's virtual and if it's in person. Much more work if it's in person, actually. So
right, so we might also need someone to kind of co-host in terms of watching the chat or counting votes or things like that. I wasn't at Dudley, so I didn't see how that went.
Oh, it's so easy now with the virtual. They have a built-in voting system, so it does it automatically. They put the questions in ahead of time, and then people it's so much easier. You don't have to tally or anything. It just tells you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Keith set it up last time, and it was a real game changer.
Well, Andrew and Tatiana, just let the rest of us know if you need helpers, non-voting helpers.
Yeah, and anyone who wants to just sit and just watch the process is more than welcome to. Just to check it out. You just you're still it's still confidential. You can't tell anybody all the cool stuff you saw.
I'm happy to be a non-voting helper. I just didn't want to take a spot from anybody else who wanted to do it. And if somebody else wants to do that instead, you can just.
I would like to be I'd like to observe for sure.
We need more people to feel confident about the process and be willing to be presenters. Andrew's not always going to be available. Holly's leaving. We don't have very many people in the group who've actually done that presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely be happy to help.
I'll send that link to the meeting out to the whole group, so anyone who just wants to observe can just, like I said, bear in mind, it's confidential until, it's publicly announced in terms of who wins and who gets cut and why and all that stuff.
Thanks. That would be great.
All right. Well, beyond Greenway, we really just have the Play on Athens project. I think the teachers, because of COVID, I'm not sure exactly how that's progressing. I don't know if anyone has had any contact with either of Jessica or Adrian.
I haven't had any contact with the teachers, but I did introduce it to the music faculty and dean at UGA because Grace is stepping out and it's such a rich, wonderful project. And the UGA Music School is interested in carrying it on, which I thought was really great. So they're talking to Grace about the processes, and it's in the hands of some senior faculty right now. I don't know how the group feels about that, but I think Grace has stepped out, and I think it takes somebody with the knowledge of pianos to continue it.
Yes.
Are you all in favor of allowing the UGA Music School to take over?
I think as long as we help them and they communicate with us, that's a good idea.
Also, our budget for this project will end, well, it really ended with round one, because round two, those pianos were paid for by the ADDA. So there's no further budget that's been earmarked to carry this project on.
I was going to say, are they using their budget for this?
Well, they asked me to tell them how much it costs. So if there is a budget, you could share like an exact or estimate about how much things cost. They would be very much like to have that information.
Okay. There's also a couple people that wanted to donate pianos, and we haven't had any place to put them. So I could always pass that along as well.
That would be great. Do you want me to start connecting? I connected Grace to these faculty. I think she already knew them. But would you like me to connect you, or do you just want to send that information to me to pass on?
However, whatever's easiest, Nisha.
Okay.
And I'll connect them because I know there were a couple people that offered to donate pianos that have just kind of been sitting on them for a while, and I know they.
Yeah.
So.
I think they have the space there to work with that, so that would be great. Yeah.
Awesome. And it's not a big budget project. I mean, the biggest thing is the moving and the tuning, but the artist budget was pretty minimal.
Yeah.
But
did you provide the supplies? Did the paint and the sanding equipment and all of that?
I think there was a stipend for supplies and then an artist fee.
Okay. Yeah, I think there was pretty sincere interest, and I think the more information they have, the more likely it is to have play on.
All right.
Plus we have pictures. Remember, we took pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pictures, lots of pictures.
RC, do you know how much, is it easy for you to tell how much we spent on that project?
Well, I think the whole budget was 5,000, but I just have it as like one big like grouping. It's not, I don't have an individualized breakdown of what the cost went to.
It was less than 1,000 per artist. I think it was.
Yeah.
It's $750 per artist plus, $200 to move a piano. And maybe some discount if you do that at scale.
I think UGA can handle that.
If I could say so, we need to raise that because you have to remember that, oh God, wait, what's her name who was in charge? Her boyfriend. We stood there and took those damn pianos apart.
Hey, Jonathan.
That was him.
Yes.
Right. That's a huge ordeal, and he did everything. He worked with her so carefully and closely, and Grace too. They put in hours. And I don't think UGA is going to do that for nothing like they did.
Well, they suggested that their students would do it. I described that part of the process, that was our kind of in-kind.
Yeah, Misha was part of that process. She knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But it really takes someone who knows piano as well, which is why the music school would be so good if they had assigned graduate student time to it, or, but it needs somebody to coordinate it.
Because every piano is going to be unique in terms of, well, that looks like the thing I can't paint on this piano, but it looks different on this piano, right? Do love graduate student labor here.
I have a question. Is the idea for them to carry on this project in kind of the same way where the pianos would have homes in public spaces, or is this something like they want it like the same kind of project, but to live specifically on UGA campus.
I think the suggestion was that we did 4 to 6 pianos. Would they do another 4 to 6? And I think if they take it over, it would be probably at their discretion and probably distributed on the campus. So that is, you know, if ACAC is not happy with that, but I worry that if we don't pass it on to another kind of torch carrier, the project may just end. And those pianos that are placed now could really use tuning and caretaking, and be so nice to have someone else oversee it.
Yeah, well, hopefully that can be a good partnership, and they can like continue like you know, service the ones that are off-site too. But speaking as a student who did not have real access to piano, which I play, except for there's one in the basement of this one hall that you can get to sometimes. It would be really valuable to a lot of students, especially who live on campus. Well, honestly, just any student to have that in random places on campus, I think that would bring a lot of joy. So and that's part of our community too. So, but I do hope that it'll be a back and forth and not just be totally, you know, insulated, I guess, within the campus.
I think it'd be a good way for, you know, UGA does a lot of things in the community. I could see it being both on campus and off campus.
Right. And have we fulfilled all of our spots that we had open in the community, as opposed to maybe all of the rest of the pianos going to, you know, locations on campus? Because I think we might have had some open spaces in the community that we still needed to fill in the second round.
Not to my knowledge. I think we were struggling to find, because you really need so many different criteria. It has to be under or access to some kind of shelter. You know, it has to not interfere with the sound, doesn't interfere with the work around it. So as far as I know, I don't remember anyone wishing for one that didn't get one. And I was
about, you know, moving some of them, but all the ones that needed to be moved got moved. And then like the one at the library wanted to keep it because they liked having it, so they're just going to keep it until it decomposes.
yeah, and Bishop Park also, and they have such a nice sheltered, that tennis court / farmers market area.
Yeah, people love it at the farmers market. I
we
was about the
any
ones
kind of
with
maintenance? Were we planning to do any kind of maintenance on the existing pianos? I don't think.
No, but we do have a little bit. So I mean, you know, there is some budget for, you know, a tuning here and there, if we wanted to, if we needed to.
Our plan was to never have them out in the wild this long. Our plan was to put them out in October 2019, as we did, or November rather, and come get them, see how long they withstood the elements, really. And we were thinking probably before summer they would have had enough, and that after a really humid summer, they would be done. So I think they're all withstanding the elements better than we anticipated, but should sure use a tuning.
It would be great if like someone like Madeline, who knew pianos, or Grace, could go around and play them and make sure they're not awful.
Or even just develop sort of like here's a condition report, if you will, on the pianos. And it also, you know, that way we can say, what is the condition of the piano as far as like, is it warping the wood? Does it have a seat still? Is the paint still looking good? Does it sound okay? So that we can sort of assess. And then also thinking about a long-term plan for this project. Like, are we just going to keep painting and put pianos out there, as many as we get? Or are we going to have just like, you know, try to have like, let's say, you know, 6 pianos or 9 pianos that are out in the world, either on campus or within the, you know, in the community, or we could do different. I mean, I think it's a lovely opportunity to do this partnership or collaboration with the University of Georgia. So just one way to think about what are the boundaries of what's feasible, and so we don't get too many pianos out at one time, and they're all sort of
Yeah.
you know?
Let me speak with, I already put Grace in touch with the UGA Music School faculty and dean, and maybe she can work with them to send somebody around to the existing pianos and help describe their status, and I can get that report to you guys.
And
yeah,
person
and
to
we-
help develop this condition report, so we can understand when is a piano beyond repair, and we shouldn't tune it anymore, and it needs to be pulled and buried at sea or whatever to do with it.
Yeah.
A Viking funeral, maybe? I don't know.
Misha, I have a question. If this does say go into, I guess UGA's hands, would that the pianos for the high school? I can't remember if it was one or two high schools. It was just
Two.
Cedar Shoals. It was two. It was Cedar
Uh-huh.
Shoals and then also Clarke Central, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the holdup? Sorry. Okay. So I have two different questions, I guess. One is, if this goes to UGA, would those not happen, or is that like still gonna happen? It's just there hasn't been contact. And
Oh, that's still in. So the Clarke Central School has the pianos, and it just haven't been in session at all, and there are no plans for them to go back to session this year. And Andrew, yeah, and then same with Cedar Shoals, and I think Andrew, you still have the piano, and it's sort of waiting to deliver when it makes sense. Those are just on hold because there hasn't been any school and any students or faculty at the high school this year.
Okay, gotcha. I was gonna say, if it was a matter of like, for some reason the teachers are hard to get a hold of, I've been emailing with those teachers actually for something totally different, and I know Adrienne personally. So if it was a matter of that, I was gonna say, hey, I can just
it was
reach
just a
out
matter.
if they're not
They were going to have
responding.
students do them, and the students
Yeah.
haven't been in person to do them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I hear ya.
Something to
great.
add, the gentleman that tuned all our pianos that volunteered for Grace, he passed away. I think a couple months ago, a few weeks ago.
It feels recent. Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't find the post.
So
Shoot.
That's awful.
he was an older man. But he did volunteer his time to tune all those pianos. So.
Oh, wow.
So
Sounds like a piano tribute is in order.
Absolutely. Maybe the next one could have a plaque or something.
We could, remember him at the next unveiling.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, is anyone against or opposed to the idea that Misha's proposing that after we finish these last two high school projects, that UGA kind of take the lead on Play on Athens, or we just want to still have a hand in it? It's more like a partner thing.
Sounds perfect, really, is us starting something, getting community buy-in, and other organizations creating more public art. What's not to love?
Right.
If we need to write a check every other year to make this, to keep it on, we can decide how we want to partner moving forward. But there's a subject matter experts.
There's no short of projects for us, so if
Right.
wants to take this
Yeah,
one.
I think it's a great idea, as they have like a good handle on the process and budget and everything, which I'm sure y'all can hand to them. And then, yeah, if Holly, like you said, there's a way that potentially someone, there'd just be like this ongoing kind of relationship between ACAC and them. I think that would not only benefit that project and how it's executed, but also just in the long run, like we could do. Just a good way to open that door.
That's great. Well, I'll propose that they take over the whole budget, and they can say back if they need support. I guess that's just to be determined, and another separate decision-making opportunity if everyone's in support of them. In theory, taking over some of the labor, whether it's for the existing 4 pianos or housing and, orchestrating the painting of additional pianos for campus. Yeah.
they need our, I think one way we can help partner with them going forward would be, like helping with a call for artists for like, future pianists, some things like that.
That's great. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that was everything I had for Project Sploss and T-Sploss for now.
Great. Okay, so new
Laureate.
business. Oh,
Laureate, just an update. That is at PIO, and I actually just got an email from Jeff just before the meeting. So that's up. I just need to proof it. He had a couple suggested edits, but that should be up tomorrow. But I'll email that link out to everyone, especially Misha, so y'all can get that out.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
The Music Walk of Fame, I copied Stephanie and Andrew on it, but I'm asking to convene Part 2 nomination committee sometime in February, I guess.
yes. On that note, ACAC talked and we thought there was some wisdom in doing 10 at a time again. Both to ensure that that's not just a popularity contest, because there are still some figures I think who warrant inclusion, who aren't household names, and also to get critical mass of markers on the site. So to better define the site, and I would argue to complicate the narrative of what Athens music history is, which we were able to do in the first iteration only because we did 10. When we did 10 at a time, there was room for the Hall Johnson, there was room for the Neil Patman, and it was not just a popularity contest. I don't know what's next or how to go about executing 10 again. And part of the idea too was that if we did 10 at a time rather than piecemeal 2 or 3 at a time, it's more fundable and we could get external funding for this.
My only suggestion in spreading it out is just to make it more of an event, and possibly, if those artists are living, get them more involved. Unfortunately, the first 10 got rolled out during a pandemic, so we couldn't have a concert or a festival or anything like that. So I think there's still a little bit of meat to carry over from the first round in terms of, promoting it and getting programming built around it. So, and you could run, not that we'll ever really run out of artists, but I see the benefit in stretching it out a little bit too, and having it be more focused on the artists and building programming around it.
Definitely trade-offs each way. and yeah, I won't pretend otherwise, that there are advantages, pros and cons of each.
Is there a goal for a final number of 50 or 100, or is it finite?
No, it was really based on the project proposal finances. And we were able to marry some additional finances through ADD, as well as work with a fabricator whose production cost was less than what was expected. The project in Splost is designated as 3 years, 2 or 3 more. I can't remember, it's not in front of me. The only reason I would say to spread it out is that this is a dynamic project and that there's going to be new artists in the music industry coming forward in our future. And I would like to be able to recognize the growth of those new artists as they arrive to, a level of commitment and career here. So I don't see this as a finished, let's get it out, get it done. But because there are extra funds, because we were able to save the funds. I think it would be a conversation back to SPLOST, just to be sure that we don't have to rewrite or modify, any kind of modification for what the original language was that was approved by the Citizen Oversight Committee. I don't see that to be a problem, but
So, I
that's
mean,
my
yeah,
thought on it.
I think if we're going to do this,
And
yes.
there's two recommended people already currently from
Yes.
the previous nominating committee. So
We have two alternatives.
two exist. Mhm.
Two exciting alternatives. I get the wisdom. I mean, if we're going to do it realistically in 2021, I think it would be a big lift to do 10 at a time, both in funding and in approvals. So I could be. I'm not wedded to 10. I don't think any of us are.
I think we have about 20, another 20, we spent about 30,000, well, at least we earmarked 30,000
Close.
for the first 10, but a lot of that was like getting, the design. Now we have the design for the plaque, so it's just the fabricating future ones, and then concrete, any concrete costs that the city might do. I think the city will do the installation. So, we still haven't, we had approved up to 50,000 for this project to last us over 3 years.
And it's 1,500 for each new plaque, essentially? Or was it even less than that? Was it even closer to 1,000?
The fabrication cost?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was much less, Andrew.
Right. Okay. So
yeah, we can do more.
We could do 5 this year, and we could fund that outright pretty easily from Project 21 budget, as we did the first time around. If any of that needs, if any modifications to go through the the SPLOST Citizen Advisory Commission or Committee, I can do that. That's relatively simple.
I mean, maybe the number, is anywhere from 5 to 10, depending on how passionate and strong the numbers are. Like, it'd be a shame if you have a tie, for example, between number 5 and 6 or something, and you've got the money to do it. I mean, this project gives so many of us so much joy. It is the coolest thing, and I just hope every square of cement has one of those that can in our life.
Exactly. This is one of those, like, the more there are, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 50. We're going to have to get into.
Now, what about partnering with economic development or something? Because I mean, this is really, it's a tourism, the tourist attraction. It's something that I think could bring in a lot of people. So maybe we can combine funds.
You know that the app came from a Georgia Tourist Product Grant.
Is that open yet?
Yeah, the app is up and running.
Oh, cool.
For funding though, my understanding is that we set aside $50,000, and you said we've spent about 18. So I don't know that. I mean, I see that it matters if we do 5 or 10, but not from a funding point of view.
Like 5 or 10. I think 2 or 3 is a little too piecemeal. And again, we have 50 quality musicians who could go along. I mean, that number 80, that number could be 100. I don't. So 5. Want to pursue 5 this year?
That seems
sure.
5 is a great compromise. I think we should go with 5.
Nice round number. And again, if we do this coordinated with Athfest, as was the intent this past summer, this can be a really magical thing for the city.
Yeah, I think the timing for Athfest, it could work. The other thing is we have to love our streets and drainage company, Athens Streets and Drainage ACC people, because they're going to have to pull it out again.
They did a great job.
I have a question about the budget for it. You said there was 50,000 approved. Is that specifically for it is for the plaques, or could something like that be a for, like Tatiana said, programming? Like if we wanted to put on a separate concert, just throwing an idea out there
Yeah, I
that's
think
related
that,
to the art.
That was actually my question, Madeline. Thank you, because I think programming is really what's going to put some shine on this project. I mean, people know it's there, but I mean, outside of Athens, it got a lot of press, but I think there's a lot of just potential to make it into an event, even if it's a virtual event. Like I know the mayor did some interviews when we did the first rollout, but I think there's still more that we could do with that. As a music town, and the musicians need the projects right now, whether they're virtual or otherwise. So
yeah, I agree. And if we do want to go down that route this year, there are some great partners we could put to work with to pull something like that off here in town. Over the summer, I saw a couple of really great virtual concerts that were put on either individual artists, but especially one that was done with a strong collaboration between a few like music venues and kind of producers. So I'd be happy to talk about that later. And like I think we are all connected with. I mean, anyway. I think we can all get connected with those folks. Like I'm thinking like someone like Recording or Georgia Theater that has like the skill set of producing a sort of audio video showcase like that. It is a pretty specialized skill, and it would just be a higher quality if we partnered with someone like that. So I think that's a really cool idea. And then let's also fingers crossed for in-person concerts, maybe this year.
If it's SPLOST money, it has to be a capital project. So we'd have to look at other funding for the programming part. I'm not saying that we shouldn't fund programming around it, but we'd have to look at a different budget for that.
Right. I would consider like programming like that to be like your ribbon cutting. And those things always come from your operation event funds or whatever that is. It can't be, that's correct, Helen. It can't be part of what that SPLOST fund is because of the object nature of those funds.
That makes sense.
Yes. That was our question. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Did y'all go on a tour for the holiday? I missed it because I'm COVID, but did y'all do that? Somebody gave you a tour, and was it fantastic?
It was fantastic.
Yeah,
you did a really good job.
That's a great sort of program ready to go. So that might be something we could think about leading up to when they're installed and leading up to the weather's right. Maybe and doing some tours or doing something like that engage people as part of leading up to.
Yeah, Paul did offer a virtual version of that tour. So I'm sure that's something we could collaborate with him on. Donna asked the question, Linda, what's the name of the app for the music walk?
It's just Athens Music Walk of Fame.
One of the things that came up, Dee Dee, on the tour with Paul was that I think a lesson learned from the sighting of the first round, and that was that we should have had him. I think we should have had him, perhaps engaged in picking which plaque goes where, because according to his version of the history, some of the plaques probably could have been swapped around in different locations and made more sense with the actual anecdotal histories of like where groups were practicing or where they had their first show or this and that. You know, I think it's just, I just say that to say for round 2, we may want to make sure that we engage the history in terms of where we cite the specific ones that are selected.
Actually, I kind of remember we dialogued about this, and it was something about not doing that so that it didn't inhibit someone else who also, like, because so many people share so much history in the same spaces that in a way, just like putting them out there was the best and most neutral way to do it, so that people who got out in front and they were in the first rounds didn't block and prevent other people who also had that same connection from having that. So in a way, it's impossible also to make those places be fixed forever because the landscape changed. But I can see how that doesn't really communicate over into someone experiencing the walk. But anyway.
He knows a good electrician. Dishwasher's on, the lights are flickering. Oh, Lordy.
Ghost. That's a ghost.
Okay. Time to move on to new business.
Sure.
Marilyn, hi.
I have some old new business.
Okay, go.
So remember before the holidays, I asked everybody on their team, when in working with our 50 award winners, if any of you had artists in your group that needed exhibition space. I know that we have 2 on ours, and I'm wondering, because what we're trying to do is find another exhibition space, and we need to find out how many people, how long their exhibition needs to last, minimum, maximum. We're trying to find something and, schedule it in. And the longer we wait for this, the harder it is to do that. And we have an idea.
I have nothing on the calendar yet, Marilyn. So I'd be happy to talk to anybody as long as it's appropriate. We have nothing on the calendar yet for our space for the whole year at the moment. The calendar does need to fill up pretty soon. So, but it's super open. And then I saw Dee Dee raise her hand too. Maybe there's something at the Linden House.
Yeah, no, she's got Glass Cube, right? Yeah, Dee Dee's got Glass Cube, and Andrew and Marilyn, they also talked about the fire station.
Right.
The Welcome Center.
Yeah, the fire station was one we were considering.
Yeah.
One of the important things I know for the people I'm working with, and B is working with, security. Some spaces are much more secure for handmade artwork or whatever than others.
The historic fire station, the one on Prince Avenue, there, the firehouse or whatever that's called.
Yeah, Historic Athens office
Yes.
space downstairs.
Yes.
Right.
Marilyn, can I add that the dean who's in charge of the Arts Council, she suggested that UGA, they just opened the Innovation Hub. Are you guys aware of that innovation space? It's like an art space that's supposed to be for innovation and community creativity between UGA and Athens. It's very exciting. It's on Broad Street at the edge of town, kind of by the Holiday Inn. It's gorgeous, and they're putting a ton of money, and they're looking for things to be in it. So if you want anything in that space, it's on Spring Street. It's just open and looking for community projects.
Okay. I think what we need to know first is which of your artists need a space? Can you find out how long they need to use it? And what would some of the requirements be? Is security important or not important? Give us some details on what they're looking for so we know if we can do it in one space over a period of time or a couple different spaces or whatever.
Talking with our artists, which is ongoing, one concern is just with the COVID, having a space where people can be social distanced in person. And so like one person asked, they have a studio space, but if it's too small for social distance situations. So we wondered about whether or not like the city mobile stage, because this is for a video showing. We were wondering if the city's like mobile stage was even an option, like they could maybe move the event outside to their parking lot.
It's a possibility, but one thing I will add, and just with talking with a lot of the awardees, during doing paperwork and stuff with them, and a lot of them, whether it was in their proposal or not, they're thinking about how they could possibly do their project or event virtually, as opposed to in person. And honestly, with the numbers spiking and things like that, if a virtual event is something that's possible with any of these projects, all of these projects, I would strongly recommend that if they're planning on doing that, in the next couple of months or so. Just because things are very precarious for in-person anything right now. Obviously, there's some things that are just difficult to accomplish in a virtual means, but I would just say anyone who's on the fence about whether they do in person or virtual, at this point, if it's possible to do it virtual, that would probably be a good idea.
Okay, so would you all send me any artists with the information I was mentioning? Is there a time when, a space of time when they can do their exhibiting? Does it need to be an indoor, which would be different than, this isn't really what I'm talking about if they can do virtual. And some of their requirements. Obviously, social distancing for some, security is really important, some it isn't. Just so that we have an idea of where to go and, book in some space.
It might also be helpful if it's relevant, if they know it's going to be like, okay, this is going to be only painting, something that can be hung on a wall versus something that needs to be on a table, or like video projection. If you can share any of that, me as someone who like runs the space, I need to know those things before I can, agree to show it. So that would be helpful.
Yeah, any details they can give, you can give me, would be really, really helpful.
Yeah, good idea.
And I know one other thing. One artist said, since it's taken half our year to get paperwork done, could we extend it beyond the present deadline?
Well, there's nobody from the county finance office watching these projects. That's on us. And I think an option is for us to just be really gracious with extensions on an individual basis, because it's absolutely absurd that it's dragged out this long, that our artists are only starting to get paid this month. In fact, that hasn't even happened yet. Absolutely absurd. Totally ridiculous. The volunteers met in August to get this ball rolling.
Okay.
The county slowed it down, and that's about
They just have to get paid this fiscal year, which should happen upon contracting, I believe.
Yeah, everyone. Just to update with as far as paperwork, and like I said, there's still like 4 people that haven't filled out their paperwork. So that's not on the county at that point. But all of them have been processed, and everyone who's turned in paperwork at this point. There's 2 people that just turned in paperwork this week that'll be in the next batch, but 44 of them are processed and at finance, with everything in. So it's just a matter of that getting processed in the next pay period or the one after, depending on where that hits. So that's that update. one thing that I wanted to just bring up in terms of, fiscal spending, there was one awardee that did drop out. That's, forfeiting their award. Obviously our plan was to fund 50. We really did fund all of them that were fundable. Lucky for us. So I guess the recommendation with those funds is maybe to just roll that into our next round of arts and community grants, which would be before the end of the fiscal year, and just do an extra award like our normal awards that we do. We'll be doing a call for that really soon, actually. I mean, because those usually we announce those March, April-ish, spring.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that? Because I think, doing a call just for that one award that got kicked back was just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. But
As an alternative, would it be valuable at all to revisit the first round of ASEA we did in 2020 and see if there are any proposals from that we couldn't fund that we know are in they have, I guess we can follow up and get details, but seemingly there would be an act need already. Would that be valuable, or should we just roll it into the next one?
That's a rich pool, actually. And when we were just giving out the 5 awards, there's a lot of great projects that actually didn't resubmit for the 50. That's the place to go, Madeline. That's a good call.
does that committee want to revisit those applications and find someone they want to fund?
Actually, yeah. Can you email us all, Tatiana, on that?
Yeah. Who was in that that particular committee? That was in my absence, so I don't know.
Madeline, me, Montu.
Is it the same group from the
Almost.
from the Resilience Awards?
It's not quite the same round. I think we either added or lost a person too, but I can look it up in the notes.
I was on the second one, but not the first one.
Yeah. It's pretty close, but we can confirm by just checking the notes. It seems like it was a very long time ago.
Right.
I can't remember.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's probably close to a year-ish ago. Okay. Well, we'll revisit that, and anyone who was on that first committee, I guess that folder was probably, there's a Google folder that's shared with everyone on that committee. Is that how you did it last time?
This should be, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
We'll confirm later.
We'll figure it out.
Okay. Arts and Community Awards this year, y'all, it's going to be a little different. So last year we had extra room in the budget because there was a vacancy for the position. So we were able to do 5 awards instead of 3. So that was $7,500. Unfortunately, the financing of that, the checks were, the paperwork was not done in a timely fashion. And that's counting against us this fiscal year. And I can't get the finance office to undo that. So our operating budget is short this year, $7,500. So we returned like $9,000 to the county or something unspent from our operating budget last year, either unspent or was meant to be allocated for arts and community awards this past fiscal year. This fiscal year, our operating budget is unfortunately eating last fiscal year's arts and community awards, if that makes sense. So we're short $7,500. So we're not going to have as many awards to go out this year, which really stinks. We do have the 50 that are out now. However, we're not going to have a normal cycle.
So would it be better to then use that unused award towards the new round of awards, and then
Because
just maybe
that
email.
mixes the pot of money a little bit, since
Okay.
for that $100,000, 15 came from us and 85 came from the county.
Okay.
And so probably not.
I gotcha.
So how many awards would we be able to give out?
One,
Is it typically
two.
only 3 or 5? Is it typically 3?
We typically do 3, and this year we were going to do a fall cycle and a spring cycle, but that was with the full-time position starting in July, but that didn't happen. So this is just going to be an unusual fiscal year. That's just the reality. We knew that already, but with that budget snafu, unfortunately, it's just going to be unusual. So 1 or 2 is all we're going to be able to distribute this year.
And just to confirm, or does that mean between like July 2021 and then June 2022, we can only give out 2 awards?
No, it means
And the
between
remainder-
now and the last day of June 2021, we can only give out 2 awards.
Okay, that's not as bad.
Right.
I was going to be really disappointed.
It's a mistake that will stop haunting us on June 30th. So that's the good thing. We get to
Would
start.
it make sense with that first round? You said there was a lot of strong submitters, that they just get an extra email of encouragement to say that there's, move that money that we didn't fund, that person that dropped out of the 50, and then add it to the 1 or 2, so that we have 2 or 3 total, and then make an overture to those people that didn't get approved and say, hey, there's these 3, at least then it looks like we're still giving 3, 2 or 3. It's weird to give just 1.
It is, and again, the county meant that for COVID relief to artists, and then didn't distribute in a timely fashion to be real relief. So because the genesis of the funds was different than what they usually are, I don't know. I can reach out to finance. I can do that, and see what they say is the best way to handle the one who's dropped out.
I will say that, I mean, the call that the first round, I call because I haven't read them in a very long time, but I'm not sure that, I mean, I don't think that was related to like specific relief. That was prior to that, getting that,
Right.
that all that getting approved. So if that's not directly in response, like, sorry, I'm getting kind of caught up.
How about
in my
let's
own
stop
question.
speculating and I'll reach out to finance.
Okay, fair enough.
Just to clarify, Andrew, you're going to make sure that the money that is forfeited, is it going back into that resiliency account, or is it going back into, I guess, our operating budget? Right.
Exactly. I'll see if we
Okay.
have any distraction or if that just goes back to the county. So again, it's a little bit egg on our face that we're not going to have the normal 3 awards this year, but again, it is what it is. Mistakes were made. Okay. So
I have a question about this, I guess, that relates to the next fiscal, or the next we were talking about earlier. In that, for like planning for the future, I mean, would there be room to argue for more than, having budget for more than 3?
that's already in this current budget.
Okay, good.
Just that
Without
last
the
year's
staff person,
$7,500 is like essentially ate that. It's cannibalized.
Right.
It got eaten by a clerical error.
Gotcha.
So even if our budget's the same the next fiscal year without the staff person, there's a lot more workable operating budget, because that's going to be a separate budget,
Okay, so then we could potentially do more.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just trying to give artists more money, that's all.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So are we. Yes. Keeping the budget the same, we'll have a really large operational budget next year. So we'll have 3 awards in the fall, 3 awards in the spring, and that'll be our protocol moving forward. Unless we're not granted the same budget allocation that we have this year, but we'll deal with that later. Okay. Anything else on arts and community awards?
When do we want to do the call for the next for the new ones? Because we usually do that, I think, in February.
It's usually a March thing. We're not going to know what the remaining expenditures for us are until this full-time position gets filled. We need staff until up until that full-time person takes over.
Oh, I know you do.
I don't want to make that decision maybe until next month.
Okay. Just planning. And then new member call stuff.
Right. So we know that Holly is stepping down and not renewing her term this year. And Misha has news on that front too.
Yeah. Oops. I'm not sure. Oops. I may be taking on a big new administrative role at UGA. And so I'm going to have to step down from this wonderful group. But I would like to see, as Grace saw the play on, I'd like to see the Poet Laureateship happen and get on its good feet with an associate chair to be selected. Patrice, Dee Dee, Montu, I'm looking at you, wherever you are. And so hopefully I'll leave with good time for you to find in the new membership round.
Okay, so I'm all for having Misha run the Poet Laureate Initiative. I really think we need her subject matter expertise to create that through, especially in the first time when we're all kind of gonna be improvising. So if that makes sense for all of you, that's probably the best way forward. Which means we have 2 vacancies, and actually, Tatiana had an idea for how we could go about that.
So a couple months back, we did kind of a survey of everyone's district to just kind of get an idea of county district representation. And, I noticed that, Boulevard, District 3 and District 10 are really well represented in our group. And then there's some districts that aren't represented at all, notably District 2 and District 5. So I just propose that maybe we be more pointed about when we recruit, looking for folks that live in individual districts, because with the amount of members we have, we could potentially represent every district, just like our mayor and commission does. This way, different parts of the community have representation in our group. Just something to consider going forward.
So how about this? Terms expire on the last day in March. That's when our terms officially are up, March 31st of whatever year you're up. How about we go ahead and start making that live? And if that's something you could work on, Tatiana. So District 2 is Commissioner Parker. District 5 is Commissioner Densa. Both of those folks, I think, appreciate ACAC, and they have their own newsletters for folks who live in their district. So if we have the call open now and say have applications due March 1st, for example, or March 10th, we can give enough time to really disseminate and give people the opportunity to apply and be thoughtful.
And I have a good relationship with both those commissioners, and I can reach out to them and get them really involved in the process. And I know they'll promote it within their districts as a partner if we want to go that route.
That's a good idea, actually.
It would be a big deal for a body of 11 folks to represent all 10 districts. That would be a win and yet another feather in our cap. So how about it? Okay.
I like that. Yep.
Along those lines, we need to have Holly seamlessly pass the baton to somebody. I assure you the vice chair position is not so onerous, and it will only be so when the full-time person comes on and starts taking on the majority of the SPLOST project work that Holly has been doing for the better part of a decade. So
that's what I was gonna say. Carrying over that project list is gonna take a big weight off that position. But being chair is still a big position. So if that's the end game.
My term is up in 2023. I would actually like to spend that last year as past chair. So I would like to serve as chair for another year if you'll have me until the last day of March 2022. And then I would be happy to make it as easy as possible for the chair who wants to take over then, and it will be somebody. I'll be throwing the baton in a room for somebody to grab. I don't know how to do this without a foot always on the gas pedal, and I've got about another year in me, and that's going to be it. And then I would like to pursue other passions with the same vigor. So not everybody all at once. However, the longer this drags on, the more I'm going to be making individual phone calls.
Yeah, I'll definitely consider it, as long as I have a lot of things to learn still. I know you have, I don't know. I know I can do the things. I am just still concerned about my ability to do the things, if that makes any sense. It's
I have
more
zero concerns about Patrice's ability to do the things, but there's a lot of things you don't know. There's a lot of things to know. There's a lot of things in Holly's head that are predominantly in only Holly's head. So there's a lot of stuff even I don't know.
also, yeah, but also I know I haven't lived here very long. I do not want to step on anybody's toes. So please, if it's something that you want to do, just let Andrew know. But yeah, this is something. I know this sounds very, very boring of me, but these are the things I enjoy. It's very bad, but I just am really concerned about the depth of information. So I think continuing to learn over the next couple of years. And also, all of this could change. I could, fly away. Who knows? But it's it's like,
There's another way to go about this, and I'm not sure if it doubles the pain or halves the pain. And we could consider co-vice chairs. No, Helen doesn't like it. A singular person will be stepping up to the altar as far as Helen's concerned.
We're
Is that
used
a
to
good idea?
UGA. We have a culture of lots of co stuff.
Not really.
At least in the students I work with.
Okay.
Every student org has at least two co-presidents.
That's to pad your resume. I think we're all beyond that. Maybe not.
That's just why it's not a foreign idea to us, Andrew, is all I'll say. Who else is going to be around till 2022? In terms of your position.
Okay.
Do you have the list?
I don't have it handy. Well, on another note, ACAC has turned 10 years old as of January 1st of this year. It would be a mistake to let it go by without acknowledgement. We have all year to do it. We don't really have a robust outreach team or anything at all resembling an outreach team. But I would like to think about if we want to do anything.
Ooh, may I throw a suggestion out?
Please do.
So if AthFest goes forward, it might be a platform or a timetable to build towards, because we can talk about the Athens Music Walk of Fame, and that also is a way to open up about what CAC has been up to for 10 years. And it's just, I don't know, it could be an information table or some sort of part of AthFest, because you're gonna, there's a lot of people hopefully will, if it's in person, like let's hope they make it, and people will be able to talk and interact, and that might be a way to engage with a whole bunch of people. So that's something as a goal. It's kind of mid-year as well, a little bit. And then you can also get people interested in things we're doing for the rest of the year, or maybe more people want to get involved. So I don't know, for some reason, I think AthFest and connecting it to the Athens Music Walk of Fame, and that using that as a starting point to talk more about what ACAC does.
I love that. That's a really good idea. That would be the perfect environment to showcase what 10 years of ACAC has done for the county.
What if we did a video type thing, and if AthFest happens, it could maybe play on a screen somewhere, and then it would also be available on our website and social media and all that stuff. Just sort of a
montage.
Yeah, a little 1-2 minute thing. We could, pay someone local to put it together and make it look really profesh. And,
you have a chance to also ask people, what do the next 10 years look like? What do you expect? What do you want to see?
Right. Come be part of, join the team and help determine what the next 10 years are going to look like.
I think too, if we revamp our website and kind of update our brand, so to speak, that might be a good way to also get the word out and kind of promote ourselves as 10-year-olds.
Yes. Yeah.
Good idea, Dee Dee. Thank you to all the commissioners. It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's a good idea. It is a cause to celebrate, for sure.
All great ideas. Any other new business that anybody would like to discuss?
Don't forget to approve the last of November's meeting.
Oh,
Yeah, I was about to
man.
say.
I haven't done that in 2 months, and I totally... Okay. Can I get a motion? Old me, unfortunately. Can I get a motion to something?
Approve the minutes of November.
Yes.
Can we approve both sets of minutes in one vote? Is that legal?
We didn't have December minutes because
we didn't have.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
we didn't?
So it's just November. Yeah.
Oh, it's just November that just came out. Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Helen thought she played hooky, and she didn't.
You skipped the cool thing.
I didn't look at the date.
Yeah. So I moved.
Great. All in favor? Terrific. Any arts news that anybody would like to share with the group?
Don't forget the Linden House jury show.
Right.
It's virtual submissions this year. So that's 22nd, right?
January 22nd deadline. Yeah. Yes.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. Haley.
And there's other stuff.
From the Birmingham Museum of Art. We have a new wonderful project up called Window Works, and this is an artist we commissioned images that were then transferred onto perforated vinyl. So now the gallery has extended outside to the front of the facility. Nora James is a young gentleman whose work is located on Athens Creatives directory. That was very exciting. There's another call through the Art Center and the Art Center for a curator/artist of color project, of which is funded for 3 rotations this year and the 2022. And then we are going to be launching a CAC resiliency grant with AAAC and ADDA, the Mural Alley project. And that is coming out, I think, tomorrow. So there's a lot of really exciting calls and a lot of money going out to local artists.
Good.
Oh, wait. And King producer Montu Miller is hosting Visions of MLK digital form on Saturday at 1 p.m. will be launched virtually. We spent 2 days at the Morton with some amazing talents, poets, hip hop artists, spoken word, song, and a fantastic step team. And so, yeah, please tune in. All of that info will be out. Montu, yay.
And also, just to follow up on what Dee Dee said about the mural alley, the ADDA was fortunate enough we received a $10,000 grant from Main Street America. So we can put more murals, pay the artists a little more, and hopefully, not hopefully, we will put some festival lighting on top there and maybe do something with the street surface too.
Good job.
That's amazing.
I'll share the good news at UGA is that they got $1 million Mellon grant to foster art and culture reflective of the Gullah people on the coast of Georgia. And part of that money is going to pay for an artist in residence program at the Gullah coast. Very exciting. It's a partnership between Nicholas Allen at the Wilson Center and Barbara McCaskill from English.
Right.
That's exactly who put that together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of UGA, big exhibits going up on 60th anniversary of desegregation at UGA. We've got stuff in the main library. We did some restoration work. We're trying to get money to finish the restoration work. They had a private tour with Charlene Hunter Galt, I believe, and her family and the Holmes family on what's today? Yesterday. I didn't know about it, but it's fine. I only help edit the exhibit text. It's okay. And then, like, literally had no idea what was happening. And then in the Special Collections building, I'm going to go from right to left. So in the political collections, I don't know what they're changing over to. That's right now, it's still election 1980. So if you have a burning desire to see lots of political things about election of 1980 with Jimmy Carter and what's the other guy's name, Ronald Reagan, and all that other stuff, you enjoy that. And then something about the marshlands of Georgia for there. In the rare book and manuscripts collection in University Archives, we have an exhibit going up on Hargret Hours. It's a class run by Cynthia Camp looking at medieval manuscripts, so we'll have some of those out. And then, of course, the big desegregation exhibit will be back in the main gallery for that one. I helped edit text on that one too. I'm glad they let me do it, so that things are talked about mostly accurately, but it's better than it would have been. And then in the Walter J. Brown Media Archives and Peabody Awards collection, I believe Pylon is still up for now. You've seen billboards all over town for that probably. Ted Turner is still up because, give us money, we put your stuff up. And then just I think they're actually going to have a couple of more things to do with desegregation, but I'm not 100% sure yet. And then the regular Peabody Award stuff is still there, but just we can't turn anything on because we can't use our touch screens or water fountains or anything. So just do your best when you come there.
It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Good deal.
Well, great seeing everybody.
I have a quick clarifying question for the minutes. Sorry, y'all. Who seconded the motion to approve the minutes? I just have to write it down. I got the motion was by B.
I probably jumped in.
I will second it.
Did we have a Steve? Just say Steve did it.
We don't have a Steve. Patrice seconded.
Thank you. That is in the notes now.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good seeing you.
Good night. See you all.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.